Welcome to the PT Powerhouse. It's going to be me and Dr. Corey and Dr. Becky talking about all things Genesis, business growth, pelvic PT, personal lives, just anything y'all could want to learn from.
All the tea.
All the tea.
All of it.
So here we go.
Super excited to get started. Our very first episode on the books, we are going to be talking about kind of the start. The start of Genesis.
The genesis of Genesis.
The genesis of Genesis. And just where my head and my heart were at for that, where it is now, and all the things in between.
Basically, yes. Okay, yes. Let's start. Obvious question. Why did you start Genesis?
I don't know.
It's very honest.
But kind of, I don't know. No. I always tell people it just kind of happened to me. Like it just was, whether it was divine intervention, which I believe, whether it was like the universe, whether it was luck or happenstance, whatever happened, it happened. And all of these little things kind of led towards it. A big player in my, like, why I started it was my midwife, Adrienne, for my second kiddo. She knew I was a PT all pregnancy, and she was just kind of like, I'm going to start this wellness collective. I want a pelvic PT. I want a chiropractor. I want all these things, and I want you to be the pelvic PT. And all of my pregnancy, I was like, Adrienne, like, no,
you're crazy.
You're crazy. I don't know anything about that. Like, it's kind of weird. I'm ortho, like, no. So I just kept telling her no. And then fast forward, gave birth, went back to her for like my multiple postpartum visits because she's an awesome midwife.
Yes.
And so she is. And so this was my 4-month postpartum visit, my final one. And again, she brought it up. Hey, Becky, you know, like I've told you 1,000 times, we're starting this thing next year, blah, blah, blah. We want you to be the pelvic PT. And I'm just like, no. Well, that day I went home and I got an email from my PT school alma mater, Texas Women's University, Dallas. Go Pioneers. I don't know what our thing is, but go Pioneers.
I think it's this.
Oh, that's dumb. Okay, well, go Pioneers. I got an email. They have a post-professional program for a certificate in women's health physical therapy. So they were just sending out an email to say, we're now taking applications for this program. It launches in 4 months or whenever it was. And I was like, what? So I guess I'll like look at it. And I emailed them back and asked some questions. And fast forward, I like dabbled in the first like anatomy, the female anatomy, I think was the first course in the year-long program. And I like loved it. And so I was like, well, guess I'm doing this. So I like texted Adrienne and I was like, Adrienne, okay, like I'm in, let's do this. And so I really just kind of got pulled into it. And the further I got pulled into it, the further I realized like, this is really my next step. I had my second kiddo. I knew that we were done at least for a really long time. And I kind of knew, I mean, she was around 6 months at this time. So I kind of knew like, I gotta like start thinking about what I want to do. Cause at the time I was just doing, you know, PRN at a rehab hospital here and there, like once or twice a week, if that. And I was just kind of like, I know I'm going to be ready to go back to something. Is it going to be just outpatient ortho, which is what my background is in, or what am I going to do? So it was just like good timing for me to be like, I guess I'll just like start a business in an area of physical therapy that I don't know. It's fine.
Like I started specializing in this very briefly recently.
Yes. But yeah, I just knew like whatever job I picked, before I decided I was going to do this, whatever job I picked, I wanted it to give me flexibility as a mom to just be able to take them to their well check, go to their gymnastics class, go take myself to the doctor, like have
which
a day or two.
Never have time to do.
Literally never. And I knew I wanted it to be part-time. And so that was kind of my original, like, why. It was kind of like selfish-ish, for lack of a better word, but like,
it's not selfish to want to have the flexibility for your family and yourself. For the record, it may feel that way as a medical professional, but it's not.
Yes. No, you're right. I just think what I mean is like so many people get into this being like, I want to help moms, or like I had my own pelvic floor issues and it like made me do this. Like that's not my story for either. Like, not that I don't want to help moms.
Yeah.
I had like a quick little bout of incontinence after Ava, but that lasted about a week and then it was gone. So like I don't really, it was more for like my family and our lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so that was the genesis of Genesis.
The genesis of Genesis. Yeah. Okay, and so that's like how and why it started.
Mhm.
And then very shortly thereafter, you were exploding, is the moral of the story.
Yes.
Or not moral, I guess, but.
Yeah, like what happened?
You started being like, I'm just going to take a few patients, I'm going to work part-time-ish, and then what happened?
Totally. So yeah, October 2019, launched Genesis. Fast forward to January 2020, that is, what is that, 3 months later?
Yeah.
I had already added a fourth day. So I was originally treating like, I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and I had like Mondays and Fridays off and all the things. Well, the Mondays and Fridays had already become like admin days. So I was already like working 5 days a week. So then January, I add a Friday and then that fills up with patients. And so then I start doing Saturdays. And so I was treating Tuesday through Saturday and like adminning, if you will, on Mondays. And so
which is a lot of work. So it's not a day off.
So much. No, not a day off. Like I was like, holy crap, like this is not what I like signed up for with myself. This is not the vibe. And so yeah, like it was fun because I was like, holy cow, like people are coming to Genesis, like wow. And it was fast, 3-4 months in, right? And so I kind of was at this crossroads where I was like, this is like not sustainable long term. So I either need to just flat out stop taking these new patients, these inquiries that are coming in all the time and send them elsewhere, or I need to hire someone. And I decided number 2.
You're like, I'm not doing that.
I'm like, no one is getting these patients because I want them for Genesis.
Yeah. Well, and you were doing a great job. Like, they were coming to you from Adrienne, obviously.
Yes.
You were in the office with her, but also, like, telling their friends, telling their family, Dr. Becky changed my life. You got to go see her. So it's very hard to turn those people away, like, emotionally.
And Instagram was just me back then. Like, I mean, it was me. I was Genesis. And I was very active. I was posting, like, 1 or 2 times a day, educational, funny, about me, what are our services, like, all that stuff. So people were seeing me on socials. They were hearing Dr. Becky helped me with blah. Or you need to go see Dr. Becky from Adrienne. Or there was some chiropractors that, you know, whatever.
I loved you.
And so it was all like...
It was all you, all the time, everything. Okay, before we breeze past that, your Instagram has been, like, prolific since pretty the beginning. Like, everyone starts with a handful of followers, but you dove in, like, pretty quickly. Because before I worked at Genesis, I stalked you, obviously. And so I was
attracted you. It's fine.
This has only been a few months, and because I was nervous. We'll get into that in the next episode, so come back. But Genesis had only been open a few months when I applied, and so I was a little bit like iffy about the stability.
As you should be.
So I had like stalked you, and you had done a lot in those few months. So like, what was the deal with Instagram? Like, how'd you start that? Why'd you start that? Were you like, this is going to be the crux of it from the beginning? Did it surprise you?
It totally surprised me. Okay. So I still have my personal Instagram. I like rarely post on it anymore, but before Genesis Instagram, I posted on that sucker all the time. Like just my kids, like my babies.
Instagram girly.
Yes. Like I was in my stories. Like I think I had stories back then. Yeah, there were stories. So long ago.
2019.
Oh my gosh. So I was used to it. And I feel like part of like my thing is whether I'm on Instagram or like in person, just chit chatting, like I like to be sassy, but Instagram gave me like a safe place to be sassy. Yeah. Because it's like behind a screen or whatever. And so I felt confident and comfortable, and you know, it was getting engagement too, because people love that stuff. They love to learn and laugh. And so I feel like that's kind of what I was doing, while also kind of stirring the pot a little bit too, with like some of my views on how to treat the pelvic floor.
Yes. Well, and for the pelvic floor, so many people are so like scared of what they're going to come in and what they're going to get. There's so much unknowns. They feel like it's going to be someone either telling them they're crazy, because they get that a lot.
That happen. Yeah.
They get that a lot, or like giving them some really trite advice, drink some wine, do some Kegels, like figure it out on your own. And so I think like Instagram for you and for the whole business to this day helps people be like, okay, that's not the kind of services you get like here.
Yeah, like this is completely opposite.
Yeah.
And like it's the literal opposite.
Like that.
Like, yes. And I think like also thinking about like us, like you said, you were stalking Genesis pre-applying for the job. Like if I'm going to go anywhere, I'm going to see if they have an Instagram.
Yeah.
If I'm going to go see a chiropractor, I'm checking their Instagram. So I think I like knew that because I did that as like a consumer.
Yeah.
Or as
a
intuitive client or whatever. Like I want to see, who am I going to see?
Yeah.
Are they like weird? Are they relatable? You know? So I think I like knew that and I had fun. So it was like both.
Yeah. I think it's funny because in person, you're very easy to talk to and all of that stuff too. But on Instagram, you are just like, more of everything.
Yeah.
Becky. Like
it is. It's like me.
Yeah.
But like more.
Turned up. Yeah.
Turned up Becky. It's turned up Becky. But when you meet me in person, it's funny because like patients, you know, back when I was seeing a lot more patients, they would say like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Like I follow you and like now I'm meeting you. And I would be like, it's literally fine. Like what you see on the internet is me, but like I'm also not going to yell at you that Kegels are stupid while we're in here in the room. So like it's all going to be okay, you know? And then they end up just, I don't know, they like me, I think.
They like you, they get better. They feel seen.
Yes.
With you and with everyone at Genesis.
Yes.
But yeah, 100%. Okay. I just think that's important because Instagram is a big part of, I think, how quickly you grew. Like, again, Adrian was phenomenal and like a huge part of it, but you grew so much that then how long did it take you to expand to a second location?
Oh my gosh.
3 months,
it
right?
was, I mean, yeah, because it opened and I want to say April. It was April 2020 and the second location opened. And so how many months is that? So that's October, November, December, January, February, March, April, 6 months. 6 months from opening. My first one, we had a second one rolling.
Yeah, it was you at the first location and then another therapist at the second location. Y'all were both part-time, quote unquote.
Yeah. Neither of us were treating 30 patients a week. Like I forget exactly, maybe like 20, 25 a week, which was like a lot.
That's full for most therapists.
Yeah, for sure. And then she was building her caseload. And so she was like, you know, part-time. We knew Sweet Kendra. We knew that she was my like bridge because I knew her from my program at TWU. And I asked her, I was like, can you do this? Like while I like figure out what's going to happen, because I knew that she was moving. Her and her family were going to move to a different state in the summer. Yeah. And she was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. So love her to death. She came and like started to try and build a caseload there for, you know, like the I don't want to say the real first hire because she was very real, but the full-time hire.
Permanent.
Yes, the permanent. That's the better word. Yes. I know. So it was me and Kendra.
Well, and for like your sanity, like you were like, I know I need a permanent solution, but I also need something right now. And correct. So thank God for Kendra.
Thank God for Kendra. Girl, I hope you're listening because I love you.
Kendra was great. Kendra helped train me a lot.
I know. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That is a big part of the genesis of Genesis. Okay, so a question I know everyone wants to ask you is why 2 separate locations instead of just like growing within modern midwifery? That's where she was at.
Right. We always call it modern midwifery. So I feel like this topic could be like its own full episode. I'm just like prefacing, but there were rooms at modern midwifery that I could have like taken.
Yeah.
I think at the time I felt such kind of like in demand from like a bunch of the birth community.
Yeah.
And again, it was like define our intervention as I'm thinking about, okay, am I going to take a second room at Modern? Am I going to like try a second location? Like Christine Taywater posts on Facebook and she's like, I have a room open and I want it to be a pelvic PT. And I was like, okay, so that's like a sign. Christine Taywater is like one of the most well-known home birth midwives in Dallas.
She's phenomenal.
She's literally incredible. And like, I knew that. So I was like, that would be an amazing opportunity to collaborate with Christine Taywater and her team that she already had there.
Everyone there was great.
Yeah, Cairo, massage, like newborn photography, like all the people that would share patients and clients. So that's why I chose it, because I was like, I can reach more, even though it was still in Dallas. Like, we had North Dallas at Modern, and then that was East Dallas. They weren't that far from each other.
Like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds like crazy, but it worked incredibly well.
It's also in Dallas. If you're east of Dallas, you get like a whole population, and then north of Dallas, you get like a whole another population. So it is a little different if you're not used to the Metroplex. But yeah, I kind of always wondered that, because Modern did have space and you were overflowing there, and people were still on the wait list for weeks and weeks and weeks to see you at Modern. Yeah. So.
Yep. I think I just, again, had like an intuition of like, this room just opened up. She specifically is looking for a pelvic PT. And I think I also like had a moment of like, I don't want it to be anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, I want
it to be Genesis.
Yeah. Like, I don't want it to be any other business that's going to like, I don't know. I've always said I want Genesis to be like the pelvic floor therapy practice of the Metroplex. Honestly, it started of Dallas, but now I'm like the world.
Of the world.
Of the world.
Yeah. Okay. That's so funny.
I know.
Well, okay, so that brings me to the next question, which is, we can both obviously chime in on this, but like, Genesis is special, obviously. So how would you explain that to someone else?
Well, I want to know what you think about it, because like, it's my business. I'm over here like, it's the best, like, obviously, but like someone who doesn't like own it or didn't start it, didn't found it. Yet you've just stuck around here and climbed the ladder. Like, why is it special to you?
The ladder. There was only one rung.
I know. We keep creating rungs.
Yeah. I think it was really special from the get because, A, you're a phenomenal therapist. You're going to like blush and act like you're not. But when I applied, I was a new grad. And so I really wanted a job where I could grow. And that was what I saw a lot of in Genesis, is that A, it was growing as a business, but like B, you were still growing and you were very confident that anything you could do, I could do. And that was very appealing as like a boss and a mentor. And I think that goes into how we treat our patients too. Like, we believe in ourselves. We also believe in them. We're always learning and growing. They're always learning and growing. We're people, they're people. Like, no one's just a number.
Right.
We don't deal with insurance, which super makes that possible, frankly. And one of my biggest concerns as a new grad too was like, I don't want to jump in and get burned out, because that is like the number one thing that most physical therapists, I'm sure it happens to all of the medical professionals, but all we can speak to is PTs. But that's a big thing that people learn about and go through. And so the way it has been structured from day one, and we haven't gotten rid of, is there's time between patients, A, for our mental health, but also if you're crying, we're not going to kick you out of the room because we have the next person
because there's someone waiting
in.
in the lobby.
Yeah. If you are, really struggling with your schedule and you need to call your husband, I'm going to let you breastfeed your baby for 15 minutes while I just like clean the room and get things switched over.
Get a
like,
snack, pee, breathe, write your note.
It makes a big difference to just feel like the top-down design is for sustainability. And again, like, as a business, that's good, but also like, we're not in the business of just making money. Like, we're in the business of changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And so to be able to do that forever, you kind of have to start from that perspective. So I think that's one thing that's really unique about Genesis. And then the way we treat has always been different. Like, we're not scared to kind of meet you where you're at and try something new. And again, we don't have to work with insurance, so we don't have to do dumb stuff that's a waste of time.
So we can like literally look at your big toe and be like, this is why you're peeing your pants when you run.
Yeah, because 9 times out of 10 it is. But your insurance is like, no one taught me that, so that can't be it. I'm like, you didn't go to PT school, so that's why. So yeah, I don't know. Would you add anything to that?
I mean, no. I'm like trying to think. Like, that was even more than what I was come up with. I feel like it's always nice to hear like a different perspective. I think it helps that whenever I launched, like, I was still pumping.
Yeah.
for Ava.
You were literally a mom.
I was,
You're still a mom.
I mean, I was, but like
You're
I
a
had
mom
a baby
at
at
heart,
home.
yeah.
Like she was a baby. And so I built those breaks in, not just for pumping, like it was partial for pumping, partial because I was brand new to pelvic PT. And I was
like Google some stuff.
I was like, shit. Yeah, like, okay, this eval's coming in for like prolapse. What is, like, I knew what prolapse was, but like, remind me, like, what do I do? Like, what is assisted seal? Like, And so I like low key did that on purpose because I felt like I needed the time to like gather my thoughts from the previous patient and like dump it on paper, or else I was going to forget, because I kind of didn't, I was like a whirlwind in the session.
Yeah.
And prep for the next one, because again, I'm like, if this eval says they're coming in for, I don't know, like even like back then endometriosis was like scary, because for some reason
they're still hard.
I mean, they are hard.
Yeah.
But like for some reason pelvic pain is like such a thing in these like courses and programs and everything. It's like the thing you learn later. And like I get it, it's more complex and all the things, but that it like put fear in me too, of like, oh, if I get like a complex patient. And so I was like nervous, and then on top of that I had to pump some. And yeah, so I'm glad I did that, because I realized how incredible it was just for like sanity, and it helped the patients too. So that just made me think of it when you said that. But
it's so easy to be gracious and be like, oh, you got here 5 minutes late because your kid was screaming. Like, we can go 5 minutes over, and we have the flexibility to do that within reason, obviously. Like we do try to be respectful of our next patient and get started like on time. But I just think no one goes into pelvic PT not wanting to get like deep with someone, you know, like you're gonna hear about their poopy and sex life. Like you don't want to rush them,
and possibly like trauma.
Lots of trauma,
you know, things
or
like that.
like the other horrible things their doctors might have told them that you have to unpack. And so
which I'm low key inside, like, tell me everything. And like, I'm like, oh, where's the popcorn? But like, you can't outwardly show that, obviously.
I mean, I will a lot of times be like,
sometimes,
no.
like,
they did not say that. It depends what it is.
Yeah, antidote to the patient and the vibe they're giving off.
Yeah. But yeah, it gives us the freedom to do that. And something I've always loved about you as a boss and as a mentor was that like you give every single one of your therapists the freedom to treat the way they see fit. Like you're not a micromanager, which I think is so healthy and is part of why you have been able to do this for so long and it's been able to grow so much. And I could kind of tell that from day one. Like I was like, we'll get into the nitty gritty of like my interview in another podcast, but like you were like letting me have input and ask questions and things like that from like the get-go. And so I thought that was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy to look back on.
I know, it is. Where are we going from here, you think?
Oh my gosh. Who knows? It could literally go everywhere. This is currently 2023. And we opened 2 large clinics last year. We're likely opening 2 smallish ones this year.
Crazy.
And we're kind of doing all these like other things that are not just like patients and clinics. So that's going to be super fun to talk about throughout this podcast. Of just like outside of patient care, what's happening. And that's part of where we are going for Genesis. And so I just think, where are we not going is the actual answer.
I don't know. Y'all tell us.
Oh, so fun.
So the sky's the limit, truly, which is so great.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank y'all for your time. We kind of hinted at some things we're going to chat about next. So if y'all are interested, definitely catch us in the next podcast.
Yes. Yay.
Check our show notes for where you can find all things Genesis, PT Powerhouse, all the good stuff.
Yep. Make sure you're following our socials, which are in the show notes. And in the podcast, we're going to be announcing all the things that are coming. So
you'll be the first to know.
Yes.
Maybe. Depends.
Yes. Podcast and or newsletter.
Yeah.
Probably both at the same time.
Probably. All right. Y'all have a fantastic day. Bye.